the average of the function is simply equal to 1 over b minus a integral from a to b of f of x dx. So this is the average, the continuous average. For example, find the average of, let's say, y equals to x squared for 0 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 2. Let's do that, all right? So the average, I guess I'll call it y average, would be what? It would be equal to 1 over the length. So here, b minus a is what? b minus a is 2. 2 minus 0, right? So I have what? I've got 1/2. Integral of x squared is 1/3 x cubed. I evaluate from 0 to 2. So I get myself 1/6 times 8 minus 0. In other words, the average value is 4/4. There is an interesting geometric significance to this. If I would graph what's going on here, I've got the parabola. Oh. So roughly speaking like that, right? There's the area. The area under that parabola is 8/3, right? I mean, excuse me, it's what? It's, yeah, 8/3. So where's 4/3? Where's 4/3 fit in there? What is 4/3 like what? 1.33? So crudely speaking, it's something like this, right? So what is the geometric meaning of average y? If you look at that line, right, and you look at the region, there's as much area under the graph above the green line as there is below the green line. It's the dividing line. So that's what makes it the average. It's the value where you have an equal amount of values above and below the line over the given region. That's the average. Does that make sense? You can almost see it even with my limited artistry here. You can see that this region up here has the same area, give or take, as this area, this region down here. If I'd done the graph really carefully, you'd see it exactly. But anyway, so long story short, if I ask you to calculate the average of a function, what do? You say, okay, over what interval? You integrate, and you divide by the length of the interval. That's the average. Do you guys know any other concepts of average that you've been exposed to, perhaps in that evil other subject known as physics? What do we talk about in physics sometimes? We talk about average velocity, right? Yes, sir.
For that one over there, like you said, it has to do with the integral and the length of the integral. You couldn't ever average out like an unlimited integral, could you? Like you couldn't average an infinite amount of numbers along the integral of like negative infinity to infinity, right?
Oh, you could. Yeah, we talk about that in 132. Probability functions. For example, like this thing. The so-called bell curve. Now I'm missing an appropriate normalization constant. I forget right off the top of my head what it should be. But if you multiply this by appropriate scale factor, you can make the area under the bell curve to be 1. So if I put the appropriate number here, let's say k, I can choose k such that the area under the whole thing from minus infinity to infinity is 1. There are such functions, for example, the bell curve, and then it has the meaning of what's called a probability distribution. You could then integrate, like, if this is what you call, say, psi, suppose that's psi of x, then if you integrate from a to b of x, psi of x dx, then that gives you the probability of x on the interval a to b. I mean, there's a whole theory of these things, probability and statistics built over calculus. If you want to learn more about this, you should take, for example, Math 211 or 401, I suppose. You got a little math to do before you can take 401, though. 211, a little bit of a jump. Or you could just take 201, which would probably be relaxing. Well, no, I think 201 is a little bit more stressful in this course. Statistics 201. Who's here? Who in here has taken Statistics 201? Online? 201 is easier than calculus? I think so here. What do you think? Is 201 easier or harder than this course? Think 201's easier? Okay. Really? I don't know. It seems harder to me, but that's because I don't know statistics. I mean, I don't need to lie to people. I mean, statistics are something you make up your mind, right? And then you go look for statistics to support your viewpoint. No one really looks at statistics to make up their mind. That's nonsense. That's just not the case. It's not the case. Anyway, the application I forgot to get to was physics. We'll do that next time, blah, blah, blah. Thanks, guys.